Hi, and welcome back to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I am Chris Gorski.
Today is June 23rd. We are on part 2 of the article that we started yesterday, all about the guitar. Our title was The Guitar, History, and the Benefits. In yesterday's part of the article, we focused on the history. Today, we're going to talk more about benefits. And today, also, get ready for a sort of different style of exercise. You're going to see that after each paragraph, or at the beginning of each new paragraph, there is an underline with a number on it. And you'll figure out what's going on with those when we get to the questions later on. We're going to be giving titles to the parts of the article. So for now, just kind of ignore those. So let's get started on today's part of the article. Again, the guitar, history, and the benefits. You might not be surprised how popular the guitar is, but you probably weren't aware of how beneficial learning the guitar can be. Here are some of the benefits of playing the instrument.
Researchers at the University of St. Andrews have shown that playing an instrument like guitar helps develop and improve concentration skills. Musicians in their study were quicker to pick up mistakes and correct them. Other research has also shown that children who learn to play an instrument have an easier time concentrating at school.
Playing the guitar is considered highly therapeutic and is great for taking care of your mental health. It can help reduce stress and release tension by offering an escape from problems or worries. It can also relieve anxiety, even if you're just playing for as little as 10 minutes.
Those who learn to play the guitar don't just better their playing, they improve their confidence as well. When you become more skilled, you will grow more confident. Then, this high level of confidence carries through and can help you in countless aspects of life.
If you want to do well in school, then consider taking up the guitar. Playing an instrument and reading music can help kids with both math and literacy skills. At a more fundamental level, playing the guitar can also improve your memory and mental capacity. Research even suggests that playing an instrument alters the shape and power of the brain for the better, of course. And I can vouch for all of this. Vouch is spelled V-O-U-C-H. V-O-U-C-H, that means I can bear witness. I can say that this is indeed true because I've observed it in the real world.
One thing that the guitar might be bad for is your hearing. Here's a fun fact about me. Fun fact. When I was a teenager, I would take most of my money and go to local rock and roll concerts.
Oh, boy, and sit in the front?
Nothing made me happier than going right up to the speakers.
So loud.
My left ear it's not so good.
I have read about this happening to a lot of people, and they were sort of aware of it at the time, but when you're young, you don't think about getting old. You think you're never going to get old. Yeah. And a lot of them say, well, you know, I do have poor hearing in one ear, but it was so worth it.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Oh, no.
I think of how many concerts I went to, how many Saturday nights. And then afterwards, these were local bands. You could hang out with the band. There was a taco restaurant right up the street. I'd hang out with these guys. It was just like the best teenage fun. However, I do now currently have pretty poor hearing in my life, dear. And I'm often asking my wife to repeat herself.
I'm glad for that reason that I didn't go to a lot of loud concerts because my work depends completely on having good hearing. As you get older, your faculties are going to sort of deteriorate. Your eyes won't be so good, sense of smell not so good, a lot of things. But knock on wood, my hearing is still pretty good, and I thank goodness for that.
Yeah, don't go to those rock and roll concerts. Or at least stand back from the speakers.
Or wear earplugs. They will help. Wear earplugs.
That sounded way too soft for me at like 15 years old.
I know how it works.
Right.
All right, let's go back to the beginning. You might not be surprised how popular the guitar is, but you probably weren't aware of how beneficial learning the guitar can be. We already touched on this yesterday. If you weren't listening, maybe you can just go back and listen online to our broadcast from yesterday. Because for me, it honestly helped me get through a lot of hard times. You're worried about having said something stupid and you offended somebody and you're not going to be so liked in that group anymore. It's all a bunch of stuff like that. And then you take that stupid thing you did and you put it into a song and it becomes something beautiful.
Also, music is an incredible bonding experience. Honestly, one of my favorite things to do is like get in the car with friends, turn that music up, lower the windows and just sing your brains out as you drive somewhere like overnight. That's just a fantastic memory.
So you were one of those groups of people who would whiz down our residential street with...
No, we would go to highways. We would go drive somewhere. Yeah, we were respectful enough not to play that like through people's neighborhoods and stuff.
Okay.
Because, yeah. I used to live next door to a frat house in college. So maybe that's where I learned because, interestingly, there was a guy. He was a great guitarist.
Wow.
And he had girls by the boatloads because he could play really well. And he was a great singer and he was creative. And I enjoyed a lot of his music, but not when I wanted to sleep.
Right. And you actually mentioned another really important point that's not in the article. It says it's beneficial. It has benefits. One of them is finding a sweetheart.
Absolutely. This guy had girls always talking to him.
Because if you are good on an instrument, all you have to do is play any old song and look her right in the eyes, and that'll do it right there.
His go-to song was Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. That was his song.
Wow.
He played it all the time.
How interesting. Let's go on. Okay, our second sentence is, here are some of the benefits of playing the instrument. We've already mentioned a bunch, but we're going to give you some more.
And we also have that little number 1 there. Pay attention to it.
Right.
Paragraph 2, researchers at the University of St. Andrews have shown that playing an instrument like guitar helps develop and improve concentration skills.
And this is really true. And I have just heard a story along this line from a recent podcast. So there was a black kid growing up, and his parents really encouraged him to learn the violin. And a lot of his friends were getting in trouble, ended up in jail or dead. But he really loved the violin. He worked hard at it. He saved up enough money and got a pretty good violin, which unfortunately later was stolen, and he was heartbroken. Right. But he kept it up, and he practiced regularly, and he got really, really good. And he is so grateful for that. He has recently written, it was a mystery story. It was a murder mystery of someone who steals a Stradivarius based on having his violin stolen. Right. And for a black kid to come out of a less privileged background so strong, he said, actually, the reason I was able to write that book, I got the discipline from learning the violin because you just sit down and you do it every day.
You have to do it. There's no shortcuts to being fantastic. Oh, I suppose if you're Beethoven, there's shortcuts. But even then, he still had to put fingers on the keys and go. So no matter who you are, there is still a certain amount of practice.
I just want to throw in something that's slightly off topic, but it's along the same lines. And that is, I have a black friend who I know personally in Taiwan who speaks incredibly good Chinese. His Chinese is just amazing. He was only like 21 years old. And I asked how he learned. He said that he grew up in the South in the U.S. and he kept it secret from everybody. I said, why? It was a great thing to be doing. He says, black kids don't learn Chinese. It's because there is a lot of social pressure to be like your group. And
to conform to the group.
To conform. And if you don't, you will often be made fun of and bullied. So someone who comes out of like a situation like this ends up usually very strong.
Let's continue here. Musicians in their study were quicker to pick up mistakes and correct them.
And that really happens with musical training because it tunes your ear very fine. You can hear the tiniest things being off.
Right. You know, speaking of well-recorded mistakes, in John Coltrane's My Favorite Things, there's a single note that is played out of key. And it's weird in some ways. It always sticks out. It's almost like a little hair sticking out on a kid's head. But in some ways, there's so much character to it.
Right.
It used to stick out as a weird, like, why did they leave this in this fantastic 13-minute song? And now it's like, oh, here it comes. Well, he's doing this arpeggio, and it's just pink off the tune. And now it's kind of a weird, beautiful thing.
Actually, in beading cultures, like a lot of African beading cultures, they purposely put a bead in the wrong place. They say only the gods are perfect.
Let's continue here to our next sentence. Other research has also shown that children who learn to play an instrument have an easier time concentrating at school.
That's assuming you do your daily practice and that you like the instrument and the music. Some kids are forced to do it. They don't enjoy it. It may not help so much, but if you're really into it, it absolutely helps you in all areas of life.
YouTube is filled with videos of families or brothers and sisters growing up, like little kids just jamming together. And I love watching those videos of like kids and moms and dads playing together.
Yes.
It's so fun. I just want to be the Jackson 5 without like Joe Jackson beating me.
And all the scandal. Okay, to continue, playing the guitar is considered highly therapeutic and is great for taking care of your mental health. Now, if you read this without having ever learned the guitar or some other instrument and maybe tried your hand at writing a song, you might think this is exaggerated, but it is not exaggerated in the least.
Yeah, I agree. Music just touches my soul.
It can help reduce stress and release tension by offering an escape from problems or worries. And that's exactly what it did for me. So I'd be feeling miserable over something totally trivial and silly, but afterwards I felt great.
There is something I have one really big regret about living in Taiwan, and that's that I take public transportation. I live in an apartment surrounded by other people.
Oh.
I'm a person, like my father would stay up of all hours of the night with a vodka and orange juice in hand, turn up the speakers and just rock and roll and sing it out. And that's something that I love doing personally myself, but it's not so cool with your neighbors. And so I don't do it. But the music is always making me move and jam and bounce on the train. And I really wish I can just bust out singing. But there are people that do sing in the MRT, and I always wish they wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will not commit that crime.
Hiking is good for that. Hiking is really good for that. Just bring your music with you and then find a place, sit down, and let her rip.
Just like this is the benefit of having a car. This is the one true benefit of having a car.
Yeah.
It's your own studio. And if someone sees you singing, who cares?
That's true. All right, our next sentence. It can also relieve anxiety, even if you're just playing for as little as 10 minutes. And that is true. You just get into that space. Your brain is taken away from all the things tormenting it, and then you feel good. 10 minutes is fine.
Our next paragraph begins, those who learn to play the guitar don't just better their playing, they improve their confidence as well.
When you get good at something, you can perform for people. They say, wow, you're pretty good. Or maybe you need a little more practice. It depends, but if you can get pretty good, it will definitely boost your confidence.
I remember my friend brought a guitar to our Boy Scout camp, and he gave it to me, and we this is so embarrassing. We tried to sing Desperado by the
great
Eagles.
Song.
No, but we were just like complete beginners, and we're like 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
So that's a very layered, emotionally written song.
Yeah.
And we're like 11 years old, and like I think about how bad we were today, and it just makes me cringe, but
But you work at it, you get better. That's a great song. I've used it in class.
Yeah, it's a beautiful one. Okay, let's continue. When you become more skilled, you will grow more confident.
See, that's it. If you get good at something, you get confidence. When you have confidence, then you also get charisma. Charisma means that you attract other people to you because we love confidence if people are actually good. If they're no good and they act confident, that doesn't work. But if somebody is really good at something and they present it with confidence, you will really attract other people and it's easy to make friends. Charisma is spelled C-H-A-R-I-S-M-A, C-H-A-R-I-S-M-A, charisma. That's this quality of attracting other people.
It's funny you went in that direction. I wrote 3 words on my paper when I was reading about confidence and skill. Any guesses?
No? Go ahead.
Dunning-Kruger effect.
There we go. If you think you're better than you are, it doesn't work. You have to be really good.
That's right. Dunning-Kruger is a very common effect where people believe they have very high skills with little knowledge. It's very common on the internet when someone tells you how they would solve all the world's problems without having any real experience. It's one of these phenomenons that the more you know, the more you don't know. And then after a very long time of study and dedication, it's like, oh yeah, now I'm confident in my abilities. Realistically, we all should know that, hey, it takes a lot of work. A lot of these problems are difficult to solve, but the Dunning-Kruger effect exposes that people just don't like to work like this. They just want to tell you their opinion and why they're right.
But that is why feedback is so important. In anything that you learn, always take the feedback that you get from other people.
It's an open mind, absolutely.
They may actually just kind of wrinkle their brow, and that's telling you something's wrong. So you may say, oh, what did you notice? What should I improve? Don't be afraid of being criticized or having things pointed out because that's how we improve.
That's right. Take advice graciously. I think that's really, really good advice. It's it's something that I think at least I needed to practice a little bit, taking advice graciously. So I try to be mindful of it. Yeah, it is something. Okay, let's continue. Then, this high level of confidence carries through and can help you in countless aspects of life.
This is really important, and I think it's an issue, especially in a place like Taiwan, where everybody is trained to be very humble and very, very polite to other people, and always be quick to admit that you're wrong and listen, which is a wonderful thing. But if you end up too shy and too lacking in confidence, it will hurt you later on. I had a former supervisor where I worked once, and she says, "Where do you Westerners get all that confidence?" Because she would notice people weren't always as good as they seemed to think they were. So where do you get that confidence? Because Taiwanese, even when they're pretty good, they will sometimes be pretty humble about it. So you're going to have to work on finding a balanced point there, a balancing point.
I think this is a really good point. And this is one of those things that I often said. I really do think Taiwan and the United States have two of the most contrasting but well-pairing cultures in the world. If you could take the confidence of the average American and the humbleness of the average Taiwanese, this creates a real charismatic person.
That's right.
I have no problems jumping up and being the person that needs to give a speech or be the leader in a presentation. I know a lot of people don't want to do it, and then just through sheer practice, I've gotten good at it. But that can come off as arrogant. And so I try to adopt a tone of humbleness. I am not afraid to make fun of myself, and that humbleness helps balance. And I think that's part of the charisma that you speak to, learning how to be gracious while being a leader at the same time.
You need a balance. Our last paragraph. If you want to do well in school, then consider taking up the guitar. And we've already talked about that. Playing an instrument and reading music can help kids with both math and literacy skills. Now, that may be something new to you because you're thinking, well, it's just music, it's just entertainment, it's just fun. No, it may also help you with your math and with your reading and writing. At a more fundamental level, playing the guitar can also improve your memory and mental capacity. And that's really true because if you're going to perform, it's not good to have your nose in the music. It's good to memorize the piece because that way you are less likely to panic and get stage fright and then suddenly freeze and not be able to perform. So you have to learn it so well that you can't make a mistake.
Yet you can't make a mistake. Complete muscle memory. Think of you writing your name. It's very rare that you spell your name wrong, unless you're one of my students, which is, I will point that out and forever call you that name. And you want to overlearn something. That's the phrase where it's unable to be forgotten, like riding a bicycle.
So you learn those skills in music, and you can also apply them to other areas of your life and studies. And our last sentence, research even suggests that playing an instrument alters the shape and power of the brain for the better, of course. How about if we head right over to our questions to get through those? Number one, which of the following is a picture of a Moorish guitar? Now, you need to have the magazine in front of you or look for, I think you can get it online. And you have to identify which one is a Moorish guitar. And the answer is letter D. That is actually an oud, if you ask me.
And we have that nice fat neck, no frets, and, of course, multiple sound holes. Number two, what was an effect of the development of the electric guitar?
A, it improved the sound quality of guitars.
Well, maybe. It depends who you
Depends on who you ask.
B,
Not me.
It was stretched to different genres of music.
And that is true. That's
correct.
Our answer. But if we want to read the other answers, C, it enabled people to patent more popular songs. Not really. D, it popularized guitar learning to a large number of people. No, that wasn't it so much. That already happened with the acoustic guitar. So let's go on to number 3.
In a University of St. Andrews study, what were musicians able to do better than non-musicians?
A, notice and fix errors. And that's the answer.
Let's go to number 4.
From the blanks 1 to 4, there are some missing titles. Please choose the best ones that fit them. And honestly, when I see all of these titles here, my brain kind of spins a little bit.
Yeah, this was hard to read for me too, actually.
This is kind of hard. However, what I think you should do is look at the paragraph where that's under the line with the number on it. Read it over to remind yourself of the content, and then just pick out the answer from the choices. Otherwise, if you get bogged down in the choices first, you're going to get all mixed up. At least I did. So let's just give the answer. And of all the choices there are, which is just kind of, like I said, makes your head spin, the answer is D. And so the choices or the titles of the paragraphs that D gives are, first, improves your concentration.
Next is aids mental health.
Next is builds confidence.
And lastly, boosts your brain power, which means make your brain stronger.
So those are all pretty good descriptions of what is coming in the following paragraph.
And now, before we go, we have a little story here I'd like to share. Now, if you know anything about music at all, you know that people play music by looking at sheets of music. And if you never learned music, like me, it's unintelligible. You cannot decipher it. You need someone to kind of teach you.
In Chinese, they call it a heavenly book. That means something you don't understand.
So. It very much is. And it's something that you can learn, and it's incredibly useful, but it did come from somewhere. So let's explore that. So the fundamentals of musical notation, that's what those little lines are, go back to this Italian monk, and his name is Guido of Arezzo.
Wow.
And he lived from 990 to 1050 AD, so about 1,000 years ago. Guido didn't fully invent musical notation, but he made it kind of where we understand it. See, there were these lines before, and there were like two notes. We had C and F, and then they would mark a line, say, sing higher than C, or sing lower than F. And that was it. And musicians had to teach each other in order to play the song correctly.
So it was basically an oral tradition.
It very much was an oral tradition. So people needed to teach each other the songs. You couldn't just hand them sheet music. They would not know how to play the song accurately. This took a long time. So Guido starts telling everyone about their ideas. And because this is the early Middle Ages, of course they rejected it. They hated all new ideas pretty much at this time.
Humans in general do.
So Guido eventually gets kicked out of 2 monasteries. That's the place where monks live. But by this time, Guido had become famous, so the Pope, the leader of the church, invites him to teach the Pope music. The Pope learns quickly, he loves it, and he wants Guido to stay in Rome, but the weather there was kind of bad for his health, and he's getting a little older. So one of the monasteries that kicked him back welcomed him with open arms.
Oh, because he had the Pope's blessing.
That's right. When the big boss loves you, everybody loves you. And that's basically musical notation. Now, our friend Guido also invented one other thing. He invented the scales, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and ut. But of course, ut later became do. And Rodgers and Hammerstein was very pleased, no doubt.
One thing to add, one thing that Paul McCartney is very proud of is that he can't read music.
I did not know that.
He's so proud of that.
Fun facts.
Okay, that's it for today. Tune in next time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.